An easy play. Fresh dress, living large, German whips in my garage. Most my partners called the charge for all this love break out with bars. Fresh dress, living large, German whips in
Here's
my
Messi.
garage.
Away from 2, 3, 4. Wonderful.
Rockin'. These chicks be flocking.
Hey guys, welcome in to YFC Your Fielder's Choice DFS stream for October 29th. I'm here, Adam, at YFC V12 with my boys at WDeuces85, Walt Waddell on the West Coast, at YFC Sports Pete on the East Coast. We got Pete Cole. Guys, welcome in. We're ready to rock and roll. We got some new graphics. We got some new swag. Did y'all check out the swag? Look at that. Yeah. All right, we like it, guys. It's one of our affiliates, Prize Picks, man. We're happy to be with them. It was either the T-shirt or the face tattoo. If they would have offered $100 more, I would have probably taken the face tattoo. Walt, what about you, buddy? How are you doing today?
Good, man. Feeling good. Had a couple of days to replenish the old, serotonin and all that. Get myself right. Get ready for some college football, some EuroLeague, all kinds of goody stuff going on this week. So,
Awesome, brother. Well, I'm happy to be here with you guys. Pete, you doing well this evening, sir?
Yeah, everything's going fine. MLB's all over with. Thought I was going to have a little bit of a break, but we're jammed right into college football now and Thursday night football. So there's no break.
There's no break, brother.
No.
There's no rest for the weary, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful to my wonderful wife. She let me use her, which is probably now my AirPods, because I was having so many difficulties getting Discord and everything and our stuff on our streams to connect. So hopefully everything goes good. But if you see me just talking and then I'm not making a sound, it's the AirPods. So my apologies there. Thanks to our producer, Mickey, for joining us for this stream, guys. We're going to be previewing some Thursday night football. We have a college football Thursday night game as well that we're going to be looking into, along with our Friday college football. There's a lot of college football on the slate, guys, and our main slate Saturday. We're also going to be touching base on our EPL Premier League action for this Saturday and kind of breaking down game by game to see what we have on the slate for that. So whether you're sweating MLS soccer, you're taking a break from DFS, guys, we're happy to be with you. We got a lot of content. We're going to jump right into it. Before we go into the segment with Pete on Thursday Night Football, Walt, tell them what we can expect from you here later in the stream.
All right. So, we usually do the main slate Saturday, my 3-player preview, but we've got so much college football going on that we'll also be covering the 3-game slate for this Friday. Give you guys 2 or 3 of my preferred plays and maybe some sneaks there too. So get you guys right for all the college football action that we have. Maction, the MAC conference starts next week, which is everybody always calls it that because it's a fantasy friendly league conference, I guess. So there's going to be pretty much college football 3 to 4 days a week going forward after this week.
Okay,
so
hope so, man. Like
doing.
I said, without NBA going on right now, without MLB, obviously, we're relying on, college football, soccer, our niche sports to get us kind of through the big NFL slate. So we're going to be jumping in later on with Walt, guys. Be sure to, check him out. There's some great segments, some great things that we're going to be doing. So with covering more slates, as always, be patient with us as we get through. Obviously, if you're listening to this on YouTube or one of our other streams that we do have, please like and subscribe that. Check out yourfielderschoice.com. We got a 20% discount for your first 3 months. That's only $40 a month to jump into all the premium content. That's everything that you're trying to get into, and it's locked, guys. Look, unlock it. $40 a month. I guarantee you spend more of that on beer in a week, in a day. I don't know. But hey, jump in premium with us here at yourfielderschoice.com. We're going to be jumping back in with Walt. Pete, it's time to rock and roll, brother. We got Thursday night football on the slate. We need to decide to see what we have to do in regards to trying to win all the money. We want to cash, but we want to win a lot of money, man. We want to find some edge on this slate. So tell me exactly what we can do in regards to Thursday night football with 2 fantasy-friendly teams. Like, these teams can put up some points on the board, and this conference has always had some really good games in prime time. There's not a whole lot of duds out of the NFC South. So tell me what we can expect from this game.
Yeah, I mean, what's up, everybody? But you look at it, just from the front, you see 1-6 Falcons against the 3-4 Panthers, and you think right away it's a dud game, but it's not. I mean, it's going to be. We got a 49 over under. I mean, the Panthers are favored by a little bit less than a field goal. The last I looked, 2.5, I think. Implies 25-75 Panthers, 23-25 Falcons. But it's going to be a good game. A rematch of Week 5. Carolina won that game on the road in Atlanta. Teddy B had over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns that game. I think after that game, I believe that's when Dan Quinn got fired. He, along with the Thomas Dimitroff, the GM, and they were 0-5. And then the next week they came right back with new coach Raheem Morris, and they won. And then they lost last week with the famous Gurley playing when he tripped into the end zone when he really didn't want to score a touchdown, but he did.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a narrative tomorrow a little bit. They could be actually on a 2-game winning streak here. So they've been playing much better. And on the Panthers end, we got Christian McCaffrey possibly coming back. He's designated to return from the IR, so it begins that 21-day window now. It's a long shot, I think, for him to play from what I've seen, but he can play. Nothing's been noted yet, so you just got to keep that in mind. So anything I talk about tonight, I'm going to talk about it as if CMC isn't playing, but just know that he possibly can. And Mike Davis has been doing pretty good in his return. He's averaged 101 yards from scrimmage this first 4 games. Last game he had a tough one. He's only limited 12 yards rushing against New Orleans in their loss last week. So, but Davis has been doing pretty good in replacing him. So to get started, we're going to doing things a little bit different this week. Instead of just going by position, I figured I'd just go by like the showdown stuff. So the first thing I talk about is the FanDuel MVP, who is our top pick for FanDuel MVP, and that's Matt Ryan. He may not be the popular pick. Some people may be on Teddy Bridgewater, but usually on FanDuel, you want the quarterback. The quarterback is what you want on FanDuel. Disappoints because you don't. And DraftKings, you pay more money to put in the captain spot. FanDuel is no extra money. You also don't get a time and a half scoring. It's straight up same price as it is for utility. And Matt Ryan's our play. I mean, this guy's been around forever. It's 13 years. He just keeps on chucking. I noticed today I was doing some research. He's only missed 3 games out of 199 in his career. So that's pretty damn good for a quarterback. For Matt, I mean, he's been beat up a little bit over his year. And he leads the NFL in passing this year. He's got 2,181 yards, 12 touchdowns. He's only got 3 picks. So he's having a good year compared to like a lot of people think because of their record.
Right.
Last week they had a 1-point loss to Detroit, and he still threw for 338 yards and a touchdown. He had 105 passing rating. But it was the week before that when they got their first win against Minnesota, and he was really throwing. He had 371 yards, 4 touchdowns, 136 quarterback rating. So that was the real Matt Ryan 2 weeks ago. They're going against the Panthers, a 17th ranked pass defense this week. So I'm all in on Ryan as MVP. Bridgewater, I mean, I wouldn't talk you off him. And the one thing I like about Bridgewater, though, he's only the 5th highest salaried player on the slate in FanDuel. So he makes for a decent captain, especially in GPPs. He's had at least 2 touchdowns in 3 of his last 4. And last game he put up almost 21 FanDuel points. So he's got a high floor and high ceiling. So I like Bridgewater, but my play is Matt Ryan today for the FanDuel MVP.
Yeah. I was going to kind of mention, like, I was kind of looking at FanDuel. Obviously, the scoring's a little bit different. I believe it's a half point, right, per reception as opposed to a full point on FanDuel, if I'm 100% correct on there. So obviously, it's going to favor your running backs and guys that are going to be toting for more yards. So I think that quarterback is kind of the play. It's usually the I guess the most popular MVP play that's on there. I will say, just based off of wanting to be a little bit different, I've seen Atlanta play defense, and they're bad. I would be okay, like I said, with the Bridgewater captain, regardless of looking at the pricing on there, because I know you don't really save anything there. But if you're just looking at from the narrative, from the sake of that, he can just pop off here and really have a game. Like this is probably the spot for him. If he's ever going to have a game, this is going to be the one here. And then, of course, if you're looking at anyone else there that you want to be different, I think Mike Davis in that spot as well. I know Atlanta gives up a ton of catches to that position. I know McCaffrey's just torched them plenty of times before, but that's just my 2 cents on the MVP spot. I think that you can kind of get different there with either one of those guys. And
Atlanta is allowing the most fantasy points to quarterbacks in the NFL. So, I mean, Bridgewater's a good pick. More with Brian, it's more of a gut play. I've always been a fan of Matty Ice, and I just think it's gonna be a high scoring game tomorrow night. So I'm in on Brian, but I'm definitely not gonna talk anybody out for Bridgewater. So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my wife even mentioned something to me, or somebody did about Atlanta. They're, a very non-dedicated sports fan, and they're just like, why do they always lose? I feel like they always give up wins whenever they. I'm like, yeah, they're pretty bad. So it's another narrative streak going down there.
The
So
game's
all
never
right, man.
when you're playing the game's never over. So all right,
Yeah.
DraftKings, our cash captain. My cash captain this week is Todd Gurley. I like him. I mean, here's a guy, former Georgia Bulldog. I mean, he had some big years in the NFL. He was a top 3 running back in the NFL for a couple years ago, and then he ran into some knee injuries, ankle injuries, I believe. A little bit less of a workload with the Rams before coming to Atlanta. But two things I like tonight or tomorrow night is his price. He's only 12,600, and which really you put him at captain, it leaves a lot of money space for a lot of studs and utility, and the
Okay.
matchup. The Panthers have allowed an NFL high 9 running backs, 9 touchdowns to running backs. I'm sorry. They have the 28th ranked rush defense, and Gurley. I mean, he's caught 56 catches for four. I mean, no, I mean they've allowed 56 catches to 401 yards to running backs. So their running backs destroy Carolina. Gurley actually is tied now for the lead in touchdowns in the NFL. He's got 7. I mean, he's got 485 yards and 122 carries. And this is the game. If there's going to be one game where Gurley's going to be MVP on a showdown, it's going to be tomorrow night. So, I
Okay.
mean, also look at the last Panthers game. He had 121 yards on 14 carries, so he had a good game already against Carolina. So I like the price. I mean, he's 8-4 in utility, but it's a great spot for a captain. And Carolina does let running backs run all over him. So Todd Gurley is my pick for the cash captain on DraftKings.
Okay.
But there's a couple
Um,
guys. I mean, sorry, but Mike. I mean, you just talked about Mike Davis. If CMC's out, I do like him. He does have a really good matchup. I mean, it's probably one of his best matchups in the last few weeks. But one other player I want to mention is Calvin Ridley. He's 10,200. If you throw him in a captain slot, I mean, we know wide receivers do like to score a lot of points in showdowns. He's a solid, safe play. I mean, last game against Carolina, he had 8 catches, 136 yards. Jones didn't play. So now, if Jones is supposed to play this week, he's still questionable. But if Jones does play, it's going to be somebody else that Carolina has to worry about.
yeah.
And he's been great all season beside the one game against Green Bay. He's got a plus matchup, especially I think tomorrow he's going to have either Troy Pride or Eli Apple on him. And
Right.
Pride ranks 123 out of 126 in
Yeah. He's
qualifying
pretty bad.
cornerbacks. Yeah, and coverage grades. So at
Yeah.
Apple,
It's like
last week was his first game. So
yeah.
and he had 100% completion rate. Apple. So this could be if I'm not playing Gurley, Calvin Ridley is my captain slot in cash.
Yeah, I think that, like you were saying, I think the matchups, it actually is a really big deal because neither one of these teams has a great secondary. I know the two best matchups on the slate are Calvin Ridley and Robbie Anderson, actually, who is someone who I like as a GPP captain. But, Ridley is in for a heck of a game. And I will say, like, just after last week, one of the things that just really just kind of struck me, like, I feel like we've been kind of getting there, but this is kind of Calvin Ridley's team. I think that Julio Jones is amazing. He's a great player. Don't get me wrong, but for what Ridley's doing right now, I just think that he's just not he's not going to be better than Ridley. Like Julio Jones is like what he does. He's not that dominant like touchdown threat. He's that great possession guy. He's going to get you lots of catches. He can go downfield. Don't get me wrong, but it's always that one little that the way he falls wrong or whatever, and he comes out of the game, he misses a lot of plays, man. So, yeah, I agree 100%. And I like Robbie Anderson on the other side. So, do you have anything in regards to that side of the game from the Carolina wide receiver
Well,
side?
actually, that's where we're going to get into a GBP here because Robbie Anderson is
Okay.
my top GBP
There
captain
you
play.
go. Yeah.
And that's where all the Carolina players fall for me in GBP. I mean, Robbie Anderson, 13-8. I love this guy. I've liked him since he was with the Jets. I mean, the last game against Atlanta, he had over 90 yards, saw 13 targets compared to DJ Moore's 5. So, I mean, he's getting 30% of the share. He gets Patrick Robinson or possibly AJ Terrell on him tomorrow. He can definitely beat either of them.
Right.
So the Falcons have allowed the second most total yards to wide receivers, 1.561. So it's a bad pass D. Anderson should be able to run it. I mean, I play if I had my way, I play Robbie Anderson every week. I mean, he's double-digit fantasy points every week. He's still like an unknown to me. I mean, he's
Yeah.
always pretty low owned. He's had at least 4 catches and 5 targets in every game this year, and he's done all this without a touchdown. So you get some positive regression coming here. I see huge upside coming when he actually does score. So Anderson could definitely be the highest scorer tomorrow. That's why I put him more as GPP players. I just think Gurley and Ridley, both just because of their matchups, probably safer. But Anderson, you can go either way. But definitely he's got huge upside, especially if he goes to the house tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's not a bad price either, 13.8.
Oh, not at all. Yeah, he's actually one of the funniest guys in the league. If you ever read any of the excerpts or things on Twitter, the things that he does at practice, I think they were singing "Sweet Caroline." And he had a shot of him. He clearly has never heard the song before, and just he has a lot of just oddball questions. The guy clearly enjoys his off season. You could tell, but he's excellent. I mean, he's a big play threat. He was great in New York. They just had nobody to throw to him,
Right.
to be honest with you. So I think that here, like you said, that Bridgewater loves the guy. He loves throwing to him. He loves DJ Moore too, but this is kind of like you said, a 2-weapon system. And obviously if McCaffrey was there, he would be there too. But Mike Davis still gets plenty of love. But I think Robbie Anderson is going to be higher owned than we would expect. I think if you really want leverage from a GPP or mass MME multi-entering standpoint, you got to go heavy on him where you're going to play him in cash or excuse me, at the captain spot, 50% of your lineups or something like that. Like, I feel like he's one of those guys that he's going to be owned enough to where if you're just kind of sprinkling him in here and there, 50%, 60% of your lineups, it's not going to create much of an edge. You need to go over the top with someone like him, in my opinion.
Most definitely. And that's where I'm going with the next play is between DJ Moore or Curtis Samuel. And I decided to talk about Samuel as our value play because if anything, I'm probably going to fade Moore tomorrow because once Samuel came back off the injured list in week 7, you saw Moore's plays and targets drop significantly. He reclaimed his role as receiver in the slot. I mean, he's seeing all the targets near the line of scrimmage. I mean, he's averaging over 8 touches per game. I mean, over the last 2 games, 8 touches, which is well, because remember he also runs too, over 14 DraftKings points a game. And right now, I think he might have the best matchup beside Ridley in the slot tomorrow. I mean, the Falcons allow the 4th highest yards per target to slot receivers, which is 9.3. And you got Isaiah Oliver. He's allowed the most yards in coverage to anybody this season. So Oliver's not exactly a great cornerback here. So I see Samuel as a great play at 5,400. He's obviously the top value play. So if I'm going to fade anybody, it's going to be Moore. Another value play going down a little bit is there's not a lot tomorrow besides Samuel. Brian Hill, just because of his price at 2,200, he's averaging six DK points a game, which isn't bad for that price. So, I mean, he sees the bad Carolina Russian defense, so he could get in there. I mean, get a couple snaps and hit the end zone. And one other name is just because Julio Jones is on the injury list, he's questionable. So if Jones doesn't go, don't forget about, and how do you pronounce his last name? Olamide Zacchaeus?
Zacharias, I think?
Zacharias?
I could be
He's
wrong.
only $1,000. And I thought it was Zachariah, but there's no R from what I see. But he's only $1,000. So if JJ is out, he's a great punt play to put in there because they got to go somewhere. So Hill and Samuel are my 2 main value plays, but there isn't a lot tomorrow in value. I mean, you look around. I mean, possibly, maybe one of the tight ends, maybe Hurst. There isn't a lot. Maybe. So it's got to be Samuel. I'm just afraid Samuel's going to be higher owned than we think because of that price.
Yeah, I think it's Zacchaeus. I think I've confirmed it. There is no R, but if there was an R, it would be silent. So we can use an R and just be silent with that. But yeah, I like it, man. I think that it's one of those games that we have to get the right the right person. I could be wrong on Brian Hill, but he may have been. Is it out of Wyoming? I can't really remember where he came from. But whenever he came into the league, I remember the Falcons, like the brass, everybody, they were really excited for him.
Yeah, they were.
They were talking about I guess just his speed, his playmaking ability. Like they were talking about him coming in and like literally taking over that role, like as a starting running back. That's what he was drafted for. So I'm very interested to see what Hill does. I don't know if he's like I guess a guy that's going to be, later on in his career, he's going to start popping off like a Michael Turner-esque kind of guy just because he's a Falcon. He was a former Falcon too. But, I think that Brian Hill is a guy definitely to keep our eyes on here. I would be highly surprised not to see on the other side Curtis Samuel. Like you said, he's been used in running back situations too, and he has speed for days. So end arounds, all kinds of stuff. Something's going to happen that's going to be weird, and something weird is going to create a lot of money for someone. So I don't think that you can actually X out some of these lower owned guys here. I would be better off, like you said, taking a DJ Moore out of my player pool and just getting risky with some of my other plays here. But I like that call, man.
It's always that one play that nobody thinks about. Or the play that we think that we don't think he's going to play, or a Cam Akers we thought was going to play, who doesn't play. There's always somebody in there that's going to score a touchdown, and last time it's a tight end, an Ian Thomas, something like that ends up winning somebody money. So showdowns, you got to get creative. You always say when you look at somebody's lineup, you should be able to tell what they think, how they think the game's going to go. You just don't throw names in the lineup. There's so much strategy, especially to showdowns. So you should be able to tell a story. You look at somebody's lineup, and then you get a guy like Ian Thomas or Brian Hill, and all it takes is one touchdown, or God forbid they actually fall in the ball twice in the end zone, and you got a win on your hands. So showdowns take a lot more strategy than people think, and it's usually not the lineup, the optimal lineup that you're thinking about is going to win it. So just good luck on that.
I'll definitely just add, whenever you're building your lineups, if you're using any website optimizer or whatever, and be sure to check it out soon, because at yourfielderschoice.com, we're going to have our optimizers set to all the parameters to be able to build your lineups and create your player pool and your different types of filters. But I will say that if you really want to be able to make some money, you can't just be all over the board. So don't be afraid to make some big calls and just really, like I said, X out a couple players out of your player pool. And if it bites you in the ass, it bites you in the ass. I think that the MLB slate last night, I was cruising, man. I was great. And then they took Snell out, and I just knew it. I was like, oh, God, I have no Mookie Betts. And I know he's going to hit a double or a single. With
That's the same
I knew
thing.
something was going to happen. Sure enough, came in, big double. And I was like, damn. And that's the way it goes sometimes. But you're playing GPP to win a lot of money, not to just min cash. So that's just my my food for thought there on that particular thing. Do you have anything else on this Thursday night football NFL slate, Pete?
No, we're good. Just good luck, everybody. It's just we at least have 3 games to watch tomorrow. We got 2 college games and NFL games, so it's football time.
Let's do it. All right, so we got a Thursday night college football game that you're also going to be helping us out with. So I'd like you to kind of talk us through that and tell us what to look forward to.
All right, so we got 2 games tomorrow, and I guess the only way you can is we got Sun Belt teams and Mountain West teams. So the only way you kind of, I guess, to kind of give everybody a lowdown is just a quick synopsis of each game. First game, you got South Alabama. They're 3-2, 2-0 in the Sun Belt. They're going against Georgia Southern, who's 3-2, 1-2 in the Sun Belt. Georgia Southern is favored by 5.5, 49.5 over under. So we got South Alabama. They're coming off back-to-back wins. Their problem is they got two-headed quarterback, which seems like we're running into that a lot this year, especially on these weekday slates between Chancellor Rich and Desmond Trotter. But both of them have been throwing the ball well, but you really can't play them in showdowns or DFS. Georgia Southern, they're a run team, number 13 in the nation. They also got the 30th run defense, and they're going against South Alabama, South Alabama is their first road game since 9-13. Actually, their first game. And Georgia Southern has won 7 straight at home, and they're only yielding 14 points per game on that streak. So that's a little bit on South Alabama, Georgia Southern. Next game is Colorado State at Fresno State. Colorado State is a 2-point favorite. It's actually their opening game. They had one game canceled, all this COVID stuff, and they finally got a game going. Last year, they were 4-8, 3-5 in the Mountain West. They're going against Fresno State, who's played one game. They're 0-1. They lost to Hawaii last week, 34-19. And in this game, we got two new head coaches trying to find a kind of identity here. We have Steve Adiazio from the old Boston College coach. He's coming in there. There are a lot of problems in that program. And we actually got two studs in this game, which I'll talk about, Ronnie Rivers from Fresno State and Dante Wright from Colorado. So, which we'll get into the players' positions. But that was just like real in 3 minutes of synopsis of what's going on tomorrow. So, two good, but they're actually two games that are close. Vegas thinks they're going to be close, so we may see some scoring. We've got 58 over and under, so maybe some good, good DFS action. DFS love tomorrow.
Okay.
So let's get into
I was going to
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to ask you, like, so are we going to, you think we'll start seeing more of that? I know Walt mentioned that a little bit more, college football, multiple game slates during the week. Is this kind of the season for that?
Yeah, obviously it is with all this COVID stuff, and Walt could probably get into that more when he talks, because he's more into the schedule than I am. But like they said, they were at Colorado State was supposed to start open up last weekend. I think it was New Mexico, I think it was, and the game got canceled. The COVIDs. Now this game's in there, so obviously before you know it's gonna be a game every day of the week, which is cool for us. I dig Thursday, Friday, Saturday games. And NFL on Sunday. So especially now with not much else going on with no NHL, NBA. So it's all good stuff.
Awesome. All right, let's jump on in.
Quarterback. This is a weird slate for quarterbacks, and this may be. We talked about it a lot on our Saturday morning show and our podcast. We'll talk about it more. This may be actually another slate where we've been getting used to using two quarterbacks in DFS college and then using the quarterback in Superflex. That may change, a lot this year, because we've got a lot of these programs with two quarterbacks they're playing in the game, or just some quarterbacks who just aren't that good and the skill positions are better. We may even end up in that way tomorrow night. We won't know really till we dig into more. Here's some more information we get from the beat writers tomorrow. But first of all, Jake Hayner from Fresno State. He's probably our top quarterback. I'm not crazy about it. He's $7,000. Transfer from University of Washington. He's probably the best of the bunch right now, he's obviously I think a lot better than he played last week. He wasn't very good in the opener last week against Hawaii, where he threw 3 interceptions, lost a fumble, only had 55% completion rate, only threw for 89 yards and a touchdown. So he did nothing on the ground. He ran for 9 yards, but still, it's only his first game. I'm assuming it was the jitters, and you just can't give up yet on a guy. Does anybody in this program under Kalen DeBoer runs? Any quarterback runs, they've averaged over 3,400 yards and 72 rush attempts per year. So this kid's obviously going to run, and he's projected as the highest score for quarterbacks. As we'll get to the other ones, but there's really nowhere else to go too much. So Hayner's probably our top quarterback tomorrow. If we do end up in a super flex, we're probably, it's because the other quarterback we have is Patrick O'Brien from Colorado State. He's probable, but Dazio hasn't even announced yet who the starter is. He's the incumbent. They do have a new quarterback. He came in from Temple, a graduate transfer. His name is Todd Cantillo, I think. So he's still, they've been splitting reps every practice. It's been totally even. Obviously, I would probably stay away from that situation unless I know for sure that O'Brien is playing the whole game. Then I probably would have him in super flex. But we're just not sure yet. And as of 3 o'clock this afternoon, they haven't announced yet who's a starter. Okay. South Alabama, we got a two-headed quarterback. Actually, two not bad quarterbacks. Desmond Trotter is pretty good. Chance Leverage is all right. But they're splitting time, just like the problem we had at Arkansas State last week. Right. That brings us to our last quarterback, and that is Georgia Southern guy Shai Werts, who he's probably the biggest name in the bunch. If you know of any of these quarterbacks, you probably heard of Werts. He just hasn't had a good year this year. He's a much better quarterback than he's played. He's a dual threat quarterback, but he's just not getting it done. The only thing I do like about him is only 5. I think he's 5'5" tomorrow, and that may be the only reason I end up playing him. So, his only decent game this year was against UMass. So, I would probably throw a couple touchdowns against UMass. He had 4 touchdowns that game. He's only got 7 on the year. And last week, Coastal Carolina totally shut him down. He only had 218 total offensive yards. He only rushed for 3.2 yards per rush. So he's not He's just, I mean, he's not getting it done. He definitely has a talent, and he's a dual threat quarterback like we like to use in DFS. And if you look at it, I mean, the last 3 years against his South Alabama team, he's actually tormented them, where he's averaged over 100 yards per game. He's got 5 touchdowns in those 3 years, so he can get it done. He just hasn't got it done yet. So I'm not sure if I want to waste all my money
Yeah.
on Shai Werts tomorrow. So,
But you got to think about that too, Pete. You got to think like, and Walt kind of beat me to it here in the chat, but you're talking about a guy on a 2-game slate at the quarterback position who's not really splitting time at 5.5. I mean, you got to like think about it. It's a dual threat guy. You know, he's someone that we're always going to target. You know what I mean? And so I think that there's not a whole lot. There's not these 10K payups or whatever. You're very well going to have a great lineup, and you're going to have salary left over tomorrow, probably the way you're looking at it. And I think Wirtz is kind of an auto play for me. I'm just saying that's just how I feel. He's looking at that.
He's in the lineup I made. I mean, yeah, he's second on the team. He's getting 27% of the carries. He's second in goal line carries. He's got, I think, 4 goal line carries. But beside UMass and Campbell, he's done absolutely nothing. I mean, but the thing is, the guy's talented. I mean, we could talk about this all day because the guy's put up numbers. I mean, over his career, he's probably the most well-known name here. So I guess you got to take a chance to look at some of these other guys. I mean, I like Patrick O'Brien. I just don't know if he's even going to be starting. So we'll get more information tomorrow. But the price is what's going to, to me, lure me in at 5.5. So I'm just afraid. I mean, I was looking at stuff this morning. I'm like, wow, I just can't believe what Coastal Carolina just totally just shut him down. He couldn't do nothing against Coastal Carolina. And I mean, South Alabama's a good team. So I mean, I maybe misspoke a little bit. I mean, but he's not, to me, he's not a shoo-in. He's not a must-have on my lineup. I mean, if anything, I would be going with a Fresno State quarterback. And we'll know information tomorrow. And that's what's good about it is we have that chat tomorrow night before the game. We'll have the chat. I think it's probably 7 o'clock tomorrow night where we have all these updates. We'll definitely know who's starting, who Adazio picks and all that. So for the Colorado State side. So enough of these quarterbacks. I mean, I said you could talk about these guys all day, and I did have my research just digging in on guys like, Shai Werts and stuff. So, but running backs is a little bit clearer. Ronnie Rivers is my man. He's from Fresno State, 7.5. If anybody remembers Ron Rivers, he played for the Steelers. I think he played for Detroit and maybe the Falcons. Ron Rivers was a running back. He's Ron Rivers' kid. I mean, this kid, to me, he's a stud. He dominates the run share of the team. I mean, his backup is Jordan Mims, who only had 2 carries. I think 2 carries last week on 4 snaps. I mean, Rivers last week in the only game at 18 attempts, 79 yards. But he did have a touchdown, hit 124 all-purpose, which is just more important. And he's one of these guys. He's a tough between the tackles runner, and he's got pass catch abilities. So to me, that's DFS gold. Last year, he was second team All Mountain West running back. And he's had a good career. I mean, he's got 36 touchdowns in his career. So Ronnie Rivers is my main running back. He's going to be in all my lineups. I'm locking him in. But there is 2 more running backs, which I like a lot. And then one not so about J.D. King, I like for Georgia Southern. His price is 6.5. I mean, I wish he was a little bit lower. But he's the other one. He takes 38% of the carries. He's at 87 carries, 490 yards. He's had 4 touchdowns, 8 goal line attempts, which is good. And South Alabama has allowed 12 rushing touchdowns in 5 games. So this guy King, he's next Oklahoma State running back. He had a couple decent years at Oklahoma State. I think he had 10 or 12 touchdowns with him. And he was honorable mention Sun Belt running back last year. So King will be in a lot of my lineups with Rivers. Carlos Davis, I don't know what we're going to do with him. He didn't do anything last week. We know he's got a hamstring injury, so we're not sure how healthy he is. I mean, the guy gets all the work. He gets all the carries, but he's just ineffective. I mean, he only averaged 3.4 yards per carry last game in 17 attempts. But you see a guy getting all this work, you kind of want to use him, and hopefully he does something. So,
right.
I'm not sure if he's in my main lineups. I'd like to put him in there, but. And then brings us down to Marcus McElroy for Colorado State. To me, it's kind of I guess I'm not saying a punt, but he's 5.5. We all know Adazio likes to run. So right now he's number 1 on the depth chart. And last year against Fresno State, he actually had 100 yards. So he's a textbook Adazio. I keep saying it wrong. Adazio running back where he just pounds out 25 carries a game. So if I'm going to choice between him and Davis, I'm probably going McElroy if I'm running 3 running backs and leaving Davis out. But I'm definitely going to run J.D. King and Ronnie Rivers. I think Ronnie Rivers is one of the best running backs in football, really. And that's all I have for running backs. I mean, there's a bunch of scrubs you can get into, but this is not the day for it. So
Okay. All right. So round out this slate for us. I've already kind of built a lineup based off of what you're saying.
And this is a fairly decent, easy lineup you can build. That's what scares me, though, because when these lineups come together too easy, it scares me. Wide receiver, we had Dante Wright. Once Warren Jackson declared for NFL draft, Dante Wright came in, became the elite, the stud wide receiver for Colorado State, and he's only 5'9". He's definitely should be more than 5'9". He's a freshman All-American in 2019. And he got 805 yards and 4 touchdowns, and he also ran 214 yards and 2 touchdowns on 17 attempts. So there's a new offensive coordinator in Colorado State, as Joey Lynch came from Ball State. And if anybody remembers Joey Lynch at Ball State, that's where Justin Hall played. And Justin Hall is just like Dante Wright. I see Walt nodding his head at me as I'm talking. Hall went for over 70 catches each season. He had 3 seasons. He also ran the hell out of the ball, and this is what Dante Wright does. It's a high-octane offense. Wright is probably my top play/value on a slate. At 5'9", you can't go wrong a wide receiver, but you almost get like a dual threat here. You got a running back receiver. I almost get Curtis Samuel, but in a better spot in the NFL. So I got Wright, and then we have for Southern Alabama, we got two receivers. Their 2 main receivers are we got Jalen Tolbert, and he's 6,700, or we got Kawan Baker, and Baker is 8,000. And the thing is, they're both pretty much about the same. They're one of the top duels in the league. They're getting the same amount of targets. Last week, Baker had a better game, though. But for that price, 6.7, I'm probably going to go with Jalen Tolbert. It seems like the type of duo that goes back and forth each week, and it looks like it's Tolbert's week. At $6,700, you can't go wrong with Tolbert in your lineup. I mean, Baker definitely if you had the money, or play both of them. But if I had to get stuck between one or 2 of them, I would be going with Tolbert at 6.7. And that pretty much probably rounds it out. You could talk about, Trey McBride thinks it's a good spot. Craig Myers says possibly, but a lot of these guys wouldn't even know because, some of these guys, it's their first game. They've only played 1 game. So there's a lot of questions tomorrow, but I think the people I just talked about, you probably just built a pretty solid lineup. It just scares me as I think it may be too chalky. So that's what I got to figure out a spot maybe to go off a little bit, go off the reservation a little bit. But we could build a solid lineup tomorrow on this. As long as nobody gets hurt, we should be okay.
Yeah,
that's pretty much all I got for tomorrow.
I was going to say the only thing that I kind of looked at, just kind of glancing over the slate, and I know you and Walt have obviously dug in more here, but I think that there is an injury to Pope, which is the Fresno State guy.
Yeah, didn't bring that up.
Yeah, I know Wheatfall is back there. I'm sure maybe Walt could probably chime in on something later on about it, just on who that you guys really like there. I just was looking at what Wheatfall did last game, so obviously he's somebody to target. But I think that it's going to be one of those games, and I think you guys will probably agree. Are we going to have? Let me ask you: Are we going to have an audio chat tomorrow in regards to this, or is that something to look for in our Discord?
Yeah, I'll have an audio chat for the NFL and college. We'll probably do it together. It'll be somewhere around 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Yeah, if you guys could get together, that would be awesome. Yeah, for sure.
Just to you just mentioned Pope. This kid Eric Brooks was a walk-on. Brooks actually got the start last week and led the team in 8 targets. He 3 catches, 46 yards. So Brooks is somebody to look at too. That's a name that a lot of people don't know. He's 4.7. Wheatfall had 3 receptions on 6 targets. He averaged 24 yards per reception, and that's probably it. I wouldn't get cute with Maury Edwards and anybody like that on this Fresno State, but look at Eric Brooks or Wheatfall if you're looking at Fresno State receivers.
Okay. All right. So rounding out the slate, anything else before we move on from this Thursday college football slate, Pete?
No, I think we're good to go. We should have a couple good games tomorrow in NFL, and we'll roll right into Friday, but I think Friday's a 3-gamer, and then we have a big weekend, so we got some money to be made here.
Perfect. All right, sounds good, man. Hey guys, listen, that's Pete Cole at YFC Sports Pete, and he's bringing our Thursday night football action with us. And hopefully, like I said, if you're lucky enough, you get on our free Discord, you can catch a chat with him tomorrow and covering our NFL and college football slates. We're actually going to transition right into college football Friday and Saturday, our main slates with Walt Waddell at W Deuces 85. He's going to be bringing us some plays and some picks and some things like that. We're going to say goodbye to Pete. Pete, I appreciate you, brother. Like I said, get some rest tonight and enjoy yourself. I know you got baseball over, but we got some DFS out there. So thanks for joining us tonight, guys.
All right, thanks, guys.
Bringing in, man. W Deuces 85, Walt Waddell. Thank you for being patient with us, Walt. I know we were trying to dig through some stuff there. I think that it's kind of difficult, man, that college football slate, because I think that there's a huge edge, because if I'm looking at it from a general public standpoint, there's a lot of game logs that are non-existent. So people are going to have to dig. So the general public are not going to dig in. They're just going to play the highest priced guys and assume that that's the right play. So I think there's a lot of edge there. And you guys have been excellent about digging out those plays and those picks. So that's just something I think, from looking at it from the surface, I think that if you want to go a little bit more heavy on something like that, I think it's wise, because I think these guys are excellent and they know what they're talking about. So at W Deuces 85, Walt Waddell, guide us through College Football Friday, Walt. Did you join me with your shirt tonight? I thought you were talking about it earlier.
Yeah, I got the prize picks on. I was thinking about wearing the mask and going all out, but
I almost wore it. I was gonna go run and grab it, but then Mickey was counting me down, and I was like, "Oh, I got to get on." So, yeah, man. Hey, I appreciate you being patient with us, man. I know you got a lot to get to, so I'll let you lead us into College Football Friday.
Yeah, no, and that's good information that Pete dropped for you guys. And that's piggyback off what you said. With the stat provider issues that have been going on and most sports right now, but especially college, sites don't have game logs and stuff for some of these people to quickly access. So unless you dig deep and go to certain, other sites and see what people have done, they really don't know. So you're right. There could be a high price guy that hasn't been doing that well, and then a low price gem that's been getting heavily targeted. So that is definitely an edge. Friday, it is a 3-game slate. It was slotted for 4, Marshall, and but as always, every week we have a game drop because of COVID, just kind of what life is right now. So Marshall FIU is out the door. So we do have three solid games. I do want to talk about, I'm kind of doing my same format here, just the 3 kind of initial plays that I like.
Okay.
And I didn't want to give the high price guys on everything, but I got to do it at quarterback. Siobhan Cordero for Hawaii. He's 8'4". I think you definitely want to start your lineups with him. Really solid quarterback. Hawaii is a very potent offense. They do have a new coach this year, Todd Graham, used to be the coach of Arizona State. Cordero, he didn't throw any touchdown passes last week, but he did complete 65% of his passes in this first game, 229 yards, but he did rush for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns. A lot of people were saying, oh, I'm surprised about that. But if you know anything about Todd Graham, you'll know that he's the type of coach that encourages his quarterback to rush and score, and the offense is really built around that facet of the game. And just to kind of give you an example, when he was the coach of Arizona State from 2012 to 2017, during that span, QBs rushed for 1,900 yards and 31 rushing touchdowns. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity for Cordero. Whereas last year, Hawaii was more of a passing team.
Right.
With McDonald over there and stuff, sometimes they'd have 5, 6, 7 passing touchdowns. So it's a little bit different of an offense now, where there's going to be a lot more rushing opportunities, and Cordero has that ability to be a dual threat guy. And now that coach that they had last year, Nick Rolovich, he's over at Washington State. So we'll see what that's all about when Pac-12's on the slate. He did rush for 212 yards and 3 touchdowns last year, though, so it's not like Cordero's not used to that. And he gets the added bonus of facing a Wyoming defense that just basically got obliterated for 500 yards of total offense, and they gave up 5 total touchdowns. So the game has a total of just under 60 points. So Hawaii, whenever you see Hawaii on the slate, they're generally a team that is on, if they're on a full game slate or Saturday, they'll be on that late slate. So you always got to stack you some Hawaii up. But Cordero is the guy you definitely want to start with. Yeah, absolutely. So Cordero is my guy there. I think it's just kind of a no-brainer type of play. you got Tanner Morgan there for Minnesota, who's certainly a good play. Zach Smith has been on the slate a couple of times. We know about Tulsa. Wyoming does have a dual threat of their own, and Levi Williams, who at 7-1. And then for ECU, Holton Eilers is supposed to be back. He's down there at 6-3. So you do have some other options, but I think that Corderos just kind of stands out among the rest. At running back, and this is where I didn't want to just, give out, the top place. I mean, obviously at running back, if you can afford Mo Ibrahim for Minnesota at 8-9, play him. If you can afford Baladay for Wyoming at 7-2, play him. Both of those guys are high volume, high fantasy point scorers that are going to do a lot. But that's just not always possible to play all the high price guys. So I do want to highlight Miles Reed for Hawaii at 6-2. It's a pretty cheap price, sticking with Hawaii here. He toted the rock 21 times last week, 109 yards, caught one ball for 5 yards. He didn't find the end zone because Cordero scored 2, and then his backup, Calvin Turner, scored 2 on 8 carries for 60 yards. So he was super hyper efficient, with those carries. But Reed's really the guy I think that's going to continue to see 16 plus carries in this backfield. Really probably only a matter of time before he finds pay dirt. So for that price, I think, most people on this type of slate looking at it are going to try to pay the high price for the running backs, probably go cheap at running or at wide receiver. So Reed is a guy who I think may go a little underowned on this slate. And I think he has a really good opportunity to go 100 plus because, like I said, Wyoming, their defense is really not very good. So I'm not too concerned about playing a Hawaii running back with a Hawaii quarterback. I think that with this type of offense they run, there's just going to be a lot of opportunity for rushing yards and touchdowns.
Okay. All right.
And then at wide receiver, like I said, if you can afford those other guys, definitely do it. Wide receiver, again, if you can afford Rashad Bateman from Minnesota at 7-5, he's a guy that you want. He's a stud. Tyler Johnson is gone. He's off to the NFL, and now it's Bateman's show. So I think that you'll see a lot of people try to stuff Bateman in there and with Ibrahim and get all those guys. And that's a really smart move if you can make it work. But again, what's the fun in just telling you to play the high price guys? So I like Sam Crawford. I know a couple of people are saying 5-7 is a little too high price for him. I don't really feel that way. I'm kind of a Tulsa guy, weirdly enough. I really like their wide receivers. Crawford's been a guy who's been habitually underpriced. He's under 5K for most of the season. Now he's at 5-7, which I still think is okay. He's facing ECU, who's allowing 31 points per game and 460 yards of total offense. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity. TK Wilkerson, their main running back, didn't even travel with the team last week. So I don't know what's going on with their running back situation, but if I'm targeting Tulsa, I want their wide receivers. He's been pretty consistent. He has 12 catches on 22 targets for 179 yards and a touchdown in 3 games. Their first game, they kind of fell flat against Oklahoma State, but if you throw that game out, he is averaging 4 catches and 78 yards per game. And Keelan Stokes is the guy who gets most of the attention for this Tulsa team. But I think it won't be long before Crawford ends up breaking off a 100+ yard game. So I'm gonna keep rolling out Crawford where I can. But like I said, if you can fit any of the Batemans or even a Hawaii guy like Jared Smart or Rico Busi, some of these Hawaii guys who may end up getting some catches, go for it. But it's kind of where my head's at with it. I just feel like Hawaii's transforming themselves into more of a rushing team. If you go back and look at those teams from 2017 and 2016, Arizona State, he's had a lot of rushing yards. So I think you want to pay down to Tulsa guys or take Bateman.
I agree. Bateman's a stud, dude. Like you said, Hawaii. If I looked at them on the slate, not really digging in, they've always been traditionally a passing team. So I mean, that's who you figure they're going to go with. But I think they're going to be high scoring nonetheless. And like you said, you have to target them here. For that particular, I guess, slate, the Friday slate, we're going to have an article out, right? That's going to go through some top plays and some picks and player pools with that, right?
Yeah, that'll be out most likely in the early morning. Just to get a day out for that, and then the main slate article too. So I'll kind of highlight the different positions and have some sneak value because, like I said, I think everybody's going to try to plug and play those top 4 most expensive guys. So there's going to be a lot of junkier looking lineups out there. So we'll have to find the value and go from there. But yeah, Bateman had 1,200 receiving yards last year and 11 touchdowns with the stud Tyler Johnson. So he could put out some massively just sickening numbers this year without Ty Joe.
Yeah, man. I wish Tyler Johnson was still on the slate. I do. He's one of those guys that, I mean, you watch him play, like you said, automatically he's an NFL talent. So, hopefully, like I said, we'll be able to get some edge there. I do feel like these small slates, man, like you said, with the stat providers and not having a ton of information out there, you guys digging into the beat writers and everything like that. If you're not already on the free Discord, I think we teased it a little bit in Pete's segment, but make sure you guys are jumping in. It's free to jump into the free Discord. Obviously, if you're premium, you're going to get quicker news. You're going to get the pertinent news right away. That's primarily where we spend most of our time on our Discord chats. But like I said, it's free to get in. They have the link at yourfielderschoice.com, so be sure to check that out. Walt, before you go on to the Saturday slate, what else you got for us on Friday?
Yeah, I mean, basically, these are the type of slates with teams that haven't been on before. Now we got Big Ten teams and, teams that like Wyoming that most people don't follow, or ECU. This is where you really want to, if you can dig in and do that extra research, or, rely on Pete and myself to really get that extra mile for you, because we're going to find, we're going to be doing the beat writer stuff, like you said, and we're going to be, looking for these additional, late news and depth charts and these articles about, hey, this guy's due a breakout, and find you that extra stuff. So this is where I tell people to, obviously do what you're comfortable with your bankroll, but if with the info, if we're confident in, I think this is a time to take more shots on like head-to-heads or double ups, not necessarily go chasing GPPs all over the place, but really kind of, I don't know, head-to-heads. I always tell subs to do that. Look for no badges or post your own head-to-heads, because there's a lot of really bad head-to-head opponents out there. So a lot of people want to chase the glamorous GPP, paydays, which is nice, but you can really make a nice, carve out a nice profit each week if you kind of give yourself a lot of head-to-head and double up action.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a Halloween slate. We got the guys are going to be out trick-or-treating. We got the kids. We want to sweat some DFS. So this is the one that we got to hit on, man, because I know we're going to be busy later in the night. So I know we want to try to find some value. We want to find some really good, great core plays. So tell us what you got for the main slate on Saturday.
Yeah, man, and these costumes, you got kids. These costumes aren't cheap, bro. We got to make some money so we can pay for these Halloween costumes.
Yeah, you want to talk about not cheap?
The quality's going down on these costumes, but the price is going up every year.
Going up. That's right. Hey, I got plenty of them too, man. Like I said, I already told them I got to wear a Prize Picks shirt just to be able to afford the costumes for Halloween. That's the only way I'm going to be able to do it, guys. So you can call me a sellout, but hey, I got to make money, man. So yeah, man. Like I said, let's dig into this Saturday main slate.
Yeah, so we've got Mountain West now. We've got Big Ten. We're gonna have some MAC conference next week. So now we're starting to get everything in order. There's going to be games that drop off, of course, but this main slate has a nice variety of conferences, which should keep ownership a little more spread out. We shouldn't see anybody too crazy high owned. There's one guy which you're going to get to, but I think that makes a nice slate, nice variety. So you don't have to have the same lineup as 80 other guys where it's like you're playing 2v2 with everyone, which is kind of no fun. So going to highlight my three main plays heading into this slate, and then we can talk about a couple others if you'd like. But first, I want to say Michael Penix Jr. for Indiana. Indiana is not really a school people think about, for college football. It's kind of more been a traditional college basketball school. So I think these guys might go a little overlooked. Penix is only 6'2" on that DraftKings slate, so he's really quite underpriced for what he is. He threw 36 times last week, completed 19 of those. 170 yards and a touchdown, which isn't, super, oh my God, numbers, but he did rush for a score also. And at 6'2", if he does anywhere near that, he's going to pay off that tag. So it's a really quite a cheap price. He did throw for almost 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns last year to just 4 interceptions. He only played 6 games. He had some injury issues. So he really doesn't get a ton of credit for being a solid QB, and he really is. Facing Rutgers, they just gave up 400 yards of total offense, 27 points to a really pedestrian Michigan State Spartan team. I don't even really know what to expect from this Spartan team yet, because they have talented players, but they didn't look very good in their first game, but they still hung up the 27 points in a loss to Rutgers. So that makes me feel like a very veteran, filled team like Indiana that can play, could put up some good numbers against Rutgers. He does have a plethora of returning receiving options. He's got Phil Yor returning, who himself is pretty underpriced, under 6K. It's kind of his favorite target. But I think there's just plenty of opportunity for him to do enough damage to pay off a 6'2" price. This is another week where, I don't feel like paying the 10K, for your guy younger. I don't want to pay up to Brady White at 9, what is he, 9-7, which is against Cincy, no way. Lawrence, we had the same conversation every week. Do we want to pay it for him for 3/4, even though Pete's Syracuse took him a full game to put him away.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things where I'm probably going to go a little cheaper at QB. I've been doing it most of the season, and I think that I'm going to continue. And I wouldn't hate if you guys only ran a one. We've been talking a little bit slate to slate about one QB. I wouldn't hate the main slate as a one QB. It's certainly a little riskier on a full slate, but the running backs are producing at such a high level right now. I almost want to play a fourth running back. So that is something I'm going to talk about in my main slate article for you guys.
Okay.
But yeah,
I'm interested to hear it because
Phoenix is my guy. So
I was going to say I'm normally a 2 QB guy, so I'm going to be reading, and you're going to have to convince me. But I understand what you're saying. You're right. The running backs have been solid, and I think that if you can't hit that value QB, like that guy that the low salary guy or whatever that can just pop off or whatever, I think that's definitely something you should consider going to, like you said, that running back value. So, I mean, tell me a little bit more because I want to hear it because I'm excited about this slate, man. I love this lineup.
For sure. And that's not it's not something I'm for sure going to do because you've got Jeff Sims down there at what is he 5'5". I mean, he's got another tough matchup. For Georgia Tech, he's always cheap. Will Howard, who's a guy that Pete hit on last week at Kansas State for 5'9". So you do have some other cheaper options to run a second QB if you want. I'm not excited about the higher price guys, which may keep me off. Although I am a Bo Nix truther, and I look at him at 7-1 against LSU. He's been giving up a ton of points. I may go back down to the Bo Nix well. He did get me 27 last week, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Running backs. This is another star-powered running back slate, and this is why I got to consider. It's definitely a 3 running back slate, 100%. But it could be a 4. Breece Hall, Iowa State, he's 9.1. I mean, oh my God, that's a huge price. How can we do it? He's playing Kansas. Kansas rushing D is a Steve. A couple weeks ago, we were all over Letty Brown. The industry got cute, and they thought he was a little too high priced. We don't want to play him. He ended up murdering Kansas. We got 43 fantasy points. We got away from that matchup last week because they played Kansas State. They played Trotter a little bit. They have Deuce Vaughn. Vaughn ran for 70 yards and a touchdown. He caught like 4 catches for 84 yards. Didn't really make value, and we got away from it. But now we're going back to a bell cow against Kansas in Breece Hall, and it's just a no-brainer play. We have enough value on this slate looking at it already with who I'm going to talk about at receiver and the QB I just talked about. We should have no issue fitting Breece Hall into our lineups, even at this price. He had that great battle last week with Hubbard against Oklahoma State. He had 185 yards and a touchdown, averaged 9.2 yards per carry. Also had 4 receptions, so he's adding a little bit to that. So he's got to be really salivating in a matchup where Kansas is giving up 200 plus yards on the ground, 400 plus yards, overall. So he's probably going to be chalk, but this is the type of chalk that tastes good. It's good chalk. You want it. You want Breece Hall in your cash lineup. Buy definitely 100%. If you're running multiple lineups, then it makes sense to jump off and maybe hope he underwhelms a little bit because it is a high price. He's going to need 120 and 1 touchdown won't get it done at that price. I think he's going to have 200 plus yards on Saturday. Honestly, I think they're just going to feed him and let him terrorize Kansas. So I got to go with Hall on this one. I don't like to pick the highest price guy on my highlighted plays, but it's just a no-brainer.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I was looking at the game, like the fantasy points per game for the running back position, and then of course for the quarterback position. And I was looking at the differential in salary. I'm like, man, maybe he's onto something because if you can lock those guys in, like you said, 3 running backs seems like a no-brainer. But there's a really good possibility we can get somebody that's kind of like we have that safety of being able to have that guy that's going to tote the rock, not have to worry about throwing for touchdowns and all this stuff. So yeah, man, I'm listening. I'm on board.
Yeah.
I like what you're saying here because it's got me thinking. I've never really thought that way for running backs, but it's in consideration right now. So
yeah, and you can practice on the tomorrow slate. Maybe give it a whirl tomorrow and see how it feels. Try on the 1 QB for that 2-game slate, and if it feels good, maybe try it on this. Because looking down the line of running backs, ETN gets Boston College. Letty Brown gets a nice matchup. Kansas State, they're giving up 180 yards on the ground. Hubbard against Texas is okay. Herbert against Louisville. Hawkins, we were all on Hawkins last week. He murdered. He's a good matchup against Virginia Tech. Kieran Williams, who I'm going to be high on this week, he's getting Georgia Tech at 7-2. Dokes against. I mean, there's just so many. Bigsby against LSU. LSU's getting just destroyed on the ground. So there is a plethora of running backs that I want to play on this slate. And only like less than 5 QBs that I'm really considering running in my main lineup. So yeah, it's definitely something that I'm toying with, and I may end up just doing the 2 QB thing if I can find another dual threat guy that I feel okay about. But running backs just have that path to putting up so much more fantasy points because of the rushing bonus. Touchdowns are 6 for them. If the QB's throwing touchdowns, it's 4 for them. So it's a little tougher for them sometimes. And if you get a guy who starts turning the ball over, throwing interceptions, or getting sacked and losing those rushing yards, then it can be tough. So that's the only reason why I'm really kind of strongly considering it. And Pete and I have been going back and forth about it, and we're going to try it on some of these smaller slates and see how it goes, because it just seems like this slate in particular has way too many rushing options that I don't want to miss out on.
All right.
Wide receiver. And then wide receiver here, there's there's good options up top, like always. And then there's some good cheap options. And number one preferred wide receiver for me is going to be Alec Pierce for Cincinnati. He finally got his first game action last week. He's been hurt, a knee injury kept him out of the first couple of games for Cincy. Their offense was kind of stagnant. They have a good defense, but they really busted out last week. Ritter had 3 rushing touchdowns, whatever. Pierce had 3 catches for 22 yards. He was targeted 6 times, so that's nice to see. He was like WR3 last year. He had 37 catches, 652 yards, 2 touchdowns. So now he's into that WR1 role. Facing a Memphis offense that's allowing just under 40 points, 570 yards of total offense, basically 400 of it in the passing game. So this is a really a pretty big misprice. Maybe not to the quite level of what Seth Williams was last week for Auburn, which was the chalk of all chalk. But at 4-2 for a guy facing Memphis that, there's going to be lots of points put on the board. And as a secondary weapon last year, he had 600 plus yards. I could see him, easily eclipsing, an 8 catch, 100 yard, 1 touchdown type of game, potentially more, if Memphis can keep up. So that's just a way too cheap of a price to get away from that 4-2.
Yeah, you can't beat that price. I mean, what are you gonna are you really gonna complain if he just gets 10 points? No, you're not. You're gonna be happy with that. So yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, and because he started when he was hurt, he was on the slate originally. DK threw him on, and he was priced at like 7.5. So they were expecting him, to be a stud coming in, and now you get him at 4.2, coming back from an injury. Yeah, it's definitely kind of another one of those like no-brainer type of things. And when you look down at this, this price point, you've got a few options around him. For LSU, the stud tight end that came in that everyone's been talking about, Eric Gilbert at 4.1, he's in consideration. Marshawn Ford for Louisville at 4.2. People, they don't realize, but he's been getting targeted 5+ times a game, and he almost caught a huge touchdown last game. And it seems kind of like Cunningham's kind of really zoning in on him as one of his favorite guys. Tutu Atwell's the long range guy, but it seems like Ford's kind of eclipsed even Fitzpatrick as the guy that is just going to get more catches. And then of course my tight end, one of my favorite tight ends, Charlie Kohler at 4K for Iowa State. Again, Kansas gives up a ton of points, and we know they give up rushing yards, but they also can get beat in the air. I mean, they get beat everywhere. So Kohler, he's really Purdy's, security blanket. And Kohler was targeted another 6+ times last week. Didn't put up huge points, but he still had a decent game, and he's been consistently putting up double-digit fantasy points. He had another 54 yards last week for 5 catches. So at 4K, if he gets 550 and reels in a touchdown there, he's paying off the 4K. So this feels like a week. And as we dig into it and talk more on our show tomorrow with Pete, maybe I'll change my mind. But feels like a week we're just going to pay down at wide receiver. We're gonna take as many stud running backs as we can, and just pay down at this wide receiver spot, because it just seems like a good day to do that with the way these guys are priced.
Okay. Fair enough.
And the Wisconsin Nebraska game's off the table because of COVID. So that takes off some of the other options that we're going to be on the table for us.
I got you. All right. So what else you want to talk about to round out this slate for us?
That's pretty much it. Like I said, I'll have that content up for you guys tomorrow for both Friday and Saturday. We'll have our our podcast that we record tomorrow, and then also Saturday morning we'll have the stream to get you guys right. But just keep grinding. We've been having, we had another injury issue last week with Jalen Waddle. Unfortunately, we
Oh
hit on a
my
lot of our
God.
plays.
I know.
Javonte Williams was like 7% owned. We were hugely on him. I think you ran him too, my man. I'm glad you got him on there, and he just smashed. I mean, he had a really kind of an okay first half, and then he just went off. So we've been doing really well on these lower owned running back smash plays. So hopefully we continue to do that for you guys. But if we can avoid a main injury to our lineups like Waddle, then we'll be all right. Because that one hurt.
I feel like
I was
gonna say
I was
I feel
hurting on
like
that one, man.
I feel like you're asking for a lot at this point. To have a non-catastrophic injury happen to one of the core plays or guys you're looking at, because it's literally, me and Pete were talking about that off stream. We're like, it's happened nonstop. Like we can name these guys, and it's like, what do you do at this point? But I think you just keep pushing forward. You just take solace in the fact that if you're playing good DFS and you're sticking with the system and you're trying to play double ups, play your percentages, you're going to do good. Like you talked about head to heads, get those no badge guys. Diversify in what you're doing. Like I said, don't just rely on one lineup. If you want to diversify, obviously that's an option too as well. So yeah, man, that's W Deuces 85. Walt Waddell out on the West Coast, bringing in that college football heat for Saturday, our October 31st Halloween slate. You should expect some Discord chats from him. Obviously, a main slate article that's going to cover top plays, core plays, different player pool options. Walt, I know they can reach you out on the Twitter handle. They can reach out to you on Discord. Man, like I said, we appreciate all you've done for us. You're going to keep sweating out those college football. I know you got college basketball right around the corner. I know we're excited about that, man. We're pleased and just we're thankful to have you on the staff, man. So like I said, thank you so much. Any last words before we head on out to soccer?
No, man. Thanks. Appreciate you as always, and good luck, guys. And bring the soccer heat, man. I'm looking forward to hearing it.
All right, brother.
Take care.
I appreciate that. It's W Deuces 85, Walt Waddell. He's covering our college football Saturday coverage, Friday coverage. Obviously, he's going to be on some of the free Discords and chats. We're going to jump right into EPL. That's our Premier League Saturday soccer action that we do have on the tap for YFC. Guys, like I said, if you've been with us for a while, you know that we're covering Champions League. We cover EPL, some MLS stuff. If you're not currently in the premium chat and you haven't subscribed to that, obviously, I feel like you're missing out because, we're going to put some bonus information out there, some nuggets out there for our premium guys. That way they can feel special and like, hey, look, they're paying the extra money to get the premium stuff, so they're going to get the premium content. So, like I said, they're going to have the MLS and all the other niche sports, Europa League, things like that. So, with EPL Saturday, obviously, we got the new graphic out there. I'm very appreciative of that from our team, and we're going to be talking a couple of plays for the EPL preview. Now, we have 3 different games. They're split up. I think there is a 8:30 Eastern time start for the first game, and they're going to be a split slate for EPL. So obviously we want to talk about those as individual games, and I want to make sure with that you are approaching it not necessarily so much as a showdown, but you're going to be looking at 3 different games and be able to combine that knowledge into a lineup for just your 3-game slate, 2-game slates, your showdown slates, whatever you want to do. The first game we have on tap, I do want to highlight Ferran Torres out from the La Liga out there in Spain. Obviously, Ferran Torres coming over to us to Manchester City, joining Pep Guardiola's team. Ferran Torres was actually featured as a number 9 striker, central position player, because obviously Sergio Aguero, Gabriel Jesus, they were unable to suit up for this last game in Champions League. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, Manchester City right now, they're hurting on injuries, but obviously they're going to put guys in there that they know that can perform. Raheem Sterling has taken up that mantle before. Obviously, Riyad Mahrez is somebody that we can play up front. Phil Foden. These guys are all going to be attack-minded players, but I wanted to talk more about a contrarian point of view from the Premier League soccer, from the takes, I guess, like you could say. Ferran Torres is a guy that has a cash DFS profile to him. He can obviously play out wide. He can play central. He's very good at moving without the ball, which is very big in high-level European soccer. He creates great position for himself. You have someone like Kevin De Bruyne. We talked about Mahrez, this Raheem Sterling's, these fullbacks, Joao Cancelo, Alexander Zinchenko, Kyle Walker. All of these players, I guess Benjamin Mendy is another one that can pick out someone like Ferran Torres and has the class and quality to be able to finish plays. From a Premier League standpoint, Kevin De Bruyne is obviously going to be the big guy for this game. Manchester City is going to be heavily favored. So Ferran Torres is a guy that I feel like we can target that's going to be lower priced. That's going to provide a big upside. He got a Champions League goal this last week, but he's somebody that is going to get a little bit overlooked. If you joined us at YFC this last EPL season, I was a real big Phil Foden fan. I still am. I think he's an excellent player. He's young. He's a stud, but he's getting to that point where he's climbing up in price. So obviously Phil Foden is somebody that we want to consider, but Kevin De Bruyne is going to be that guy that's going to be the main focus here, but someone like Ferran Torres is going to be the guy that's going to put us over the top, and that's who we want to focus on in our showdowns. That's who we want to focus on in our lineups, and for our classic slates, that is going to be more lower owned. So I did want to talk about Ferran Torres, obviously, and I want to talk about another play from a different game, from the Chelsea game, actually, and I want to move on into Reece James. Now, Chelsea have added a ton of talent for this season. Obviously, they have added Kai Havertz from Bayer Leverkusen, a Bundesliga team. They've added Timo Werner from Red Bull Leipzig. He's come over from, as well from Bundesliga. But all the talent that they've added, and including Hakeem Ziyech and these other guys, like Reece James is a Chelsea player through and through. He plays on the right side in the fullback, wingback position. He's actually one of those guys that he has speed, he has strength, he has ability. Like, if you watch him on the pitch, he's one of the strongest, fastest guys always. He's incredible control with the ball. He's actually had a role on set pieces in the past, which may not be something he does now. But from a DFS standpoint, cash profile, high upside, like, this guy is someone that you want to consider, obviously, here. Reece James is just one of those phenomenal players that's going to continue to get better and better and better. He has a great offensive mindset right now, but I do think that defensively, he's going to be able to learn from those guys in that back line, like Cesar Azpilicueta, Antoine Rudiger. There's a lot of guys back in that back line. They got Thiago Silva right now that came over, I think, from PSG, and he's going to be, somebody that has a ton of experience defensively. So Reece James, from a cash floor and from an upside play, is someone that is probably not going to be talked about a lot. We're going to talk about the Ben Chilwells, the Timo Werners, the Kai Havertz, Christian Pulisic, the American hero. All these guys are people we're going to talk about, but Reece James, defender position, excellent cash play, excellent in showdown play, because he can be someone that you can put in cash as a captain play and be able to fill out a great line because of the reduction of salary that you're going to get. So Reece James is someone that I love as a Chelsea fan, and I think that as a player from EPL, like, he is excellent. I think that he is going to be at that Trent Alexander-Arnold level. I know maybe not skill-wise, but I think from just ability and athleticism, he's going to be at that kind of a level soon whenever Chelsea can start soaring towards the top of the EPL. That's my hope. Fingers crossed, obviously. So I do want to talk about one more play. Now, the obvious plays would be talk about Liverpool, talk about your Andrew Robersons, talk about your Trent Alexander-Arnolds. But I want to talk about a play that's not Mohamed Salah, that's not Sadio Mane. I want to talk about Michael Antonio from West Ham United. Now, bear with me. I understand that this is obviously going to be a tough go here, and you have to find value. You have to find someone that is going to be able to be contrarian in lineups and be able to be a little bit different in regards to, we have to find value somewhere. So Michael Antonio for West Ham United is actually one of those players that has this ability as a physical specimen to be able to muscle through Premier League defenses, to be able to muscle through top tier center backs and actually score goals with quality. Guys, I'll be honest with you. I've been on Michael Antonio for a while. He's one of those players that we looked at the end of last year in the Premier League season when Jared Bowen was on this huge rise of just being a superstar and just playing amazing and having great set pieces and a great cash play. Michael Antonio went on a run last year. I guarantee you that he was just scoring goals nonstop, assists, chances, and everything. And now he's faced with, I guess, a matchup this weekend where, I mean, he's got a lot to do. He obviously has a tough matchup ahead of him. He has to make sure that, he's able to get in his positions and be able to get service to him and everything. But Michael Antonio is a guy that I feel in this game particularly that he can actually excel. He can be a low-owned goal scoring threat. If he scores one goal, I guarantee you he will pay off salary on there. Michael Antonio is the kind of player that you're going to overlook him because he's a primarily goal scorer. He's not a big guy on set pieces or anything like that, but because of his shots, assists, his shots on goal, shot taking ability, period. DraftKings, FanDuel, they both reward him. Actually, more on FanDuel, they reward him a lot more for the type of DFS game that he does have. So Michael Antonio, West Ham United. I want to make sure that you focus in on him on Saturday because I do feel he's going to be contrarian. He's not going to be somebody a lot of people play. He could be considered mainly a GPP play, but I didn't want to give you the obvious guys. I can give you the Trent Alexander-Arnolds. I can give you the Andrew Robertsons. Those are easy. Mohamed Salah, that's easy. But Michael Antonio, West Ham United, I guarantee you, take a look at him. He made us some money previously on this last weekend slate. And like I said, he's somebody I'm going to look forward to, guys. But that's rounding out our EPL talk. We're going to talk more. I'm going to have an article out. I'm going to have main plays. I'm going to have top picks. I'm going to have some diagrams, some breakdowns of how I show my player pool on Premier League soccer and soccer slates in general. Obviously, you've heard from Pete Cole. You've heard from Dub Deuces 85, Walt Waddell. If you're currently or not affiliated or not talking about our Prize Picks, let me make sure I get the letters in there. There you go. Yeah. Prize Picks. We are affiliated with them. If you use code YFC, you get 100% deposit match bonus, a free 2-pick entry to win $50, if I'm still correct on that. I hope I am. But these guys sending tons of stuff, guys. Like I said, my kids are wearing Prize Picks shirts. I have a Prize Picks Snuggie that I'm going to put on whenever I get out of here. I have a Prize Picks bottle opener, man. Hey, these guys are growing. They have an affiliation with the Atlanta Braves right now, and you will want to get on board with them. Like I said, use code YFC at your deposit bonus. 100% up to $100. Free money, guys. So, hey, we have a daily Prize Picks article. We have an NFL Prize Picks article. We've been smashing. If you're not currently available to play that in your state, my suggestion, the logical thing to do would be to just drive to the state nearest you where you can play. I don't know if that's an option or not. But, guys, hey, this is yourfielderschoice.com. We have this Thursday preview. We have Friday, Saturday. We're going through the weekend. We're going strong, man. I'll put the Snuggie on. Don't tempt me, Papwop. So, like I said, hey, guys, this is yourfielderschoice.com. This is Adam at YFCV12. Hey, have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful evening. Of course, have a wonderful drive to work if you're listening to us. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe, hit that bell, subscribe to us on YouTube and all of our socials, Facebook, Instagram, and, of course, Twitter. Yourfielderschoice.com, the place to be. Thank you, Walt. Thank you, Pete. And, of course, thank you, Mickey, man. Hey, have a wonderful night. Good night, guys.
German whips, fancy cars, they play the game, but they know who the champions are. Every time we pull up, it's like a damn bazaar. They scream our name, try to get us on the camera. Flashing lights, though I ain't the flashy type. I just push a big whips with the fastest pipes. Can't match this price. I don't nigga catch for life, but I still never pay the full package price. And fuck the law.